I am Keith Wingy with Missouri Main Street Connection, and we also have Ben White with our staff. He's actually our lead person for the awards things. So if you guys have questions as we go through, or as you are filling out your application, please feel free to reach out to Ben or myself. But Ben is the lead for our kind of the management of our awards for our state conference. Which I know there's a lot of new folks on the call, and welcome and excited that you're here. The awards that we do at the state conference is always a fun event. We call it the Evening of Excellence, and we celebrate all things Main Street at that gala. It's at the end of the conference, so everybody's always been pumped up from the sessions and the speakers and the tours and those sorts of things, that it's always kind of that culmination of celebrating Main Street in Missouri. But also want to make the point that this is the opportunity for you guys to nominate and recognize the great things happening in your downtowns, the projects, the people, at a state level. And so, these are awards you're competing against folks from all across the state. And so just a great way to motivate, recognize the great work of the people in your community through recognition at the state conference. So encourage you guys to look at it that way, and be sure and fill out some applications, looking at the categories and all those things, what best fits. And we're going to go through and kind of share best practices. We're going to go through the application and the categories, and then we're going to talk about, kind of storytelling, and then best practices related to a good application. And a lot of these best practices come from our judges who do a great job of scoring all of the applications. So we do have outside folks that aren't staff looking at all of the nominations and the applications. And, through the years, they have just shared their feedback. They don't know your projects. Sometimes they don't know your communities at all, or your people. And so have shared information. And so we wanted to kind of share that with you guys today. So let's get started. And Ben, I'm going to rely on you because I can't see my notes in these. Is this yours or mine? I think it's mine.
Yours.
Okay. All right. So here's kind of the lowdown of just general submission instructions, all nominations and supported materials. And this is in the application, by the way, which I think Ben is going to pop into the chat if you don't have a copy of it with you. And this has already been emailed out. We sent it out. We are way early this year. We heard from our communities that they wanted to have the application out earlier so they could think about it and really work on their nomination. So we usually send it out in February or March. We sent it out the 1st of January. They're due back May 1st by 5 p.m. To us electronically, emailed to info@momainstreet.org. That's that first point up there. And then only accredited associate and affiliate organizations in good standing in their agreement with us can submit nominations. So make sure that you're following your annual agreement with us and that you're in compliance. And if you have any questions about that, Ben is the person to reach out to. You guys will be receiving, we started doing kind of an annual report card, or mid-year and end-year report. So you'll be getting your end-of-year report for 2022 that will have all your compliance stuff in there and where you currently sit. Those will be coming out here real soon, so that'll be a good guide for you also. You're limited to a total of 6 nominations in all the various categories. So you can submit 2 nominations from the organization category, 1 from economic vitality, 1 from promotion, and 2 from design. And we're going to go through those categories here in just a minute. So you have 6 places that you can nominate projects and people from your organization. And then requirements, submission requirements for all categories down below. There's a narrative. That's where you tell your story, help the judges understand why this project or this person is worthy of statewide recognition and that they've made an impact in your district. But no more than 3 pages, single space, 12-point type, just because limitations with judging. There will be 50 some applications that our judges are going to have to go through. And again, everything is submitted electronically, either in Word or a PDF document, just something that's easy to share. Submit at least 5, but no more than 10 photos. Again, the judges don't know your communities or your projects. So, the photos really help. And some of the things, as we get into each of the 4 categories, organization, economic vitality, promotion, and design, you're going to see the different award categories. Some of them are going to be projects. So definitely before and after pictures are important, but also make sure that the pictures are supporting your narrative or your storytelling. And no PowerPoint or Word formats accepted. I hear something in the background. Just want to make sure if anybody has a question. All right. And just for noise purposes, just because we do have a larger group, if you would mute yourself, that would be great. To be nominated, the activity must have taken place between January 1st of 2022 and December 31st of 2022. So we're recognizing all of those great things that took place last year, unless otherwise stated in the specific submission or special submission section. So there are some exceptions to that, and we'll talk about those. And then all projects, or a project, may only be nominated in one category. You can't take a project and nominate it in the EV category and the design category. It's one project. So pick one project per category. Pick the category that most fits your narrative or the impact or whatever the case may be. All right, Ben, I think this is yours.
That is correct. So the judging and finalist information. So the judges will not add any new categories that you don't see in the form itself, but they may include multiple awards in a category, or they may see your award nomination and say, actually, that might be a good idea to maybe put this from an EV project to a design project. So they may move it around at their discretion. Or they may not, if we don't get any nominations in a particular category, may not have an award for that category as well. If you're applying in multiple categories, all applications, narratives, and photos should be submitted electronically for each category. Submit to, and this is important, the info@momainstreet.org. That's our general email that we have for the organization by 5 p.m. on May 1st, 2023. Like I said, we have a couple of months to get this nomination in. The finalists and awards presentations. So by July 7th, we will reach out to you either by email or phone to notify you if your entry is a finalist. But the winners itself will not actually be announced until the Evening of Excellence Award on July 28th. So finalists or finalist designees are required to attend as paying guests at the Evening of Excellence, which includes the award ceremony and dinner. And so you'll know if you're a semifinalist, so you have time to get those semifinalists to the Evening of Excellence Awards dinner, but then you won't actually find out if you're the winner or not until that evening. Add some intrigue to it. Finalists will receive an awards finalist ribbon attached to their conference badges. Finalists will be featured in the awards program booklet. Winners will receive trophies during the awards ceremony, and winners will be featured on the MMSC website and social media platforms in the summer edition of our newsletter, and then press releases following the event itself. Again, it's a really good opportunity, even if you don't win, to show off those people, those projects in your community that have made a difference in the past year.
Yeah, we take all of the, and the reason, July 7th, all these dates are contingent and helpful for us because we create a little, for all the semifinalists, a video that are presented that night in that category, telling who the semifinalists are, and then we announce the winner. So that's why the photos are very important. Your narrative is very important to help tell that story. Because As participants in the Evening of Excellence, it's always great to hear and see what other people are doing across the state with these great projects and people that you can learn from it also. So it's an educational thing. And then we utilize those nominations all the time for examples that Ben and I use in presentations when we're in other communities. So we want to know the great stuff that you're doing in your community because we know you're doing it. And so this, again, is just another opportunity to showcase that on a state level. And the Evening of Excellence is just a fun event. We typically have 150 people or so enjoying a great dinner. We also have, if you have several nominees, a lot of times the Main Street program will get a whole table so you guys can all sit together and celebrate together. We also have VIP opportunities for those tables where you get an extra special dessert, you get wine served to you by our board members. It's just a fun night. We're always exhausted because we've been putting on the conference, but it is still, even though we are tired, a fun night to celebrate everything that's happening, the great stuff that's happening in the state from you guys. So it's a fun time.
Mm-hmm.
Ben, is this me?
This is you.
All right. So this is the first, as you notice, these are organized by the 4 points. So this is the organization category. And these are the 5 categories that fall under organization, under that organization point. So the first one is Outstanding Community Empowerment Grant Community. So those of you on the call, we have some community grant communities on our call today. Those are communities that Ben is working with that are new Main Street programs, helping you build the strong foundation for your Main Street program. And so we offer a category that you can apply or nominate yourself as a CEG community for the great work that you've done as a newer Main Street program. And so while most of the awards are from January 1st, 2022 through December 31st of 2022, this one is a little different because the CEG program is a 2-year program. Any CEG community that has been part of that program and active in 2021, 2022, or 2023 are eligible to nominate themselves. Okay, so that one just has a little different requirement as far as dates. I do want to go back when Ben gets to kind of the EV and design categories. The project has to be finished in order to be recognized, and it has to be finished within the timeline of January 1st through December 31st of 2022. So the project does have to be finished. I'll make that little caveat real quick. But other categories under organization is Best New Education Campaign. So, if it's educating the community on your Main Street program or a particular program that you're offering, there is, you'll see under design, there is an HP category. So, you might want to look if it's an HP related, where would it fall in the application or nomination process. Outstanding public official, under organization, it's about those partnerships. And so outstanding public official is a recognition. Many times the mayors are being recognized, city administrators, police chiefs, all those sorts of things because of the great work that they've done with the Main Street program. Premier partner, again, back to that partnership relationship of organization. You may have a bank or a hospital or a company within your community. The city could also be nominated as a premier partner, recognizing, again, the great work that they're doing in supporting the Main Street efforts in your community. And then Volunteer of the Year. The young gentleman in the picture on the bottom right-hand corner was the Volunteer of the Year last year. A young 6-year-old or 7-year-old who goes around picking up trash in his downtown using his little gator that he drives around downtown and picks up trash. So it was a tough category last year to compete against a 6-year-old, but recognizing the great work of your volunteers. And like we've said before, all of the semifinalists are recognized that night. So winner or not, those projects and people are getting recognition on a state level. So just want to remind you of that. And then there are some special requirements related to the organization category. I already mentioned The Outstanding Community Empowerment Grant Community, it covers multiple years. Nominations in the Outstanding Community Empowerment Grant, Best New Education Campaign, and Premier Partner may submit up to 8 pages of collateral material. Maybe with your partnership, you had some materials created or things that were part of that partnership. So you can submit, while you can have up to 3 pages of narrative, you can also submit in those categories up to 8 pages of collateral material. Nominations for the Best New Education Campaign must be accompanied by an action plan or a work plan. So we want to see, how did that take place? Again, this is a learning experience for everyone. So those action plans tell us how that campaign took place and who was involved. But then that action plan can also be shared with others as we promote in Main Street, the R&D, rip off and duplicate. There may be other communities that go, oh my gosh, that was a great campaign. Can we see how they did it? Nominations for the Outstanding Public Official Award must include at least 1 headshot style photo. Again, we're gonna create a video. We want pictures of them in action, but we need at least 1 as kind of a headshot to use for other promotional materials. And then nominations for the Volunteer of the Year, the award must have taken place between May 1st of 2022 and May 1st of 2023. That's a little different because we have this program called I Spy Great Work, where you can submit the great work of volunteers within your community all year long. And so that is the first way that you get them eligible for this category. But then you do have to fill out the formal application through this process. So take a look at that and make sure that if you're doing the Volunteer of the Year, you've got to submit them sometime through the year into the I Spy Great Work, which we then promote through our social media channels. If you have questions on that, again, reach out to Ben.
So I'm going to cover the economic vitality category and the promotion category. And so there's a couple of category or types of projects for each one of these. For economic vitality, these are actually broken up in between accredited and affiliate, these first 2. And so the first one is Outstanding Economic Impact Project. And the description is the same. We just break it out by tier. And so the first one is just projects that are happening in communities with organizations in the accredited and the associate tier. And the second one is for affiliate. And so this one is an award granted to an individual, a business, a municipality, or a partnership of entities. And like I said, in this case, in an accredited or an associate tier, or for the next one in the affiliate tier, that is undertaking a new development project within a downtown district. This project does not have to be brick and mortar necessarily, but should improve quality of life and have a positive, measurable impact on downtown revitalization, including job creation and or business expansion. And so I just want to point out there's a lot of phrases in here that you really need to take a look at. How does it have job creation? What kind of impact? How did it impact in there? And so your narrative needs to reflect all of those things that are mentioned, especially in this Outstanding Economic Impact Project. How did it make an economic impact in your downtown? That's something that the judges will be looking for. Keith and I know a lot of the projects that are happening in your downtown, but again, like you mentioned, they don't know. And so they need to know, how did it actually make that impact? The next one in economic vitality is Best Downtown Housing Project. And so this award recognizes the importance of people living downtown. Nominations can be upper story lofts, multi-unit apartments, new or renovated single-family housing, or other creative ways to add housing to the downtown area. This one's a little bit more straightforward. But again, that's the Best Downtown Housing Project. So those are the categories under economic vitality. And then you have promotion, which is again broken out by accredited and associate. And then you have the affiliate here down below there. And so this award recognizes the downtown organization from the accredited or associate tier or the affiliate one that has produced a quality creative promotion generating traffic for the downtown. So this next part is really important to note. It's the activity could be a Main Street hosted event, or it could just be another creative promotional activity. It doesn't necessarily have to be an event. It could just be some kind of other promotional activity that you could put in this category. And so be thinking of even things outside of events that the Main Street organization has produced last year that could potentially fit for this category. So the special submission requirements for the promotion category is the nomination for both of these should submit also an action or a work plan, as well as the names of all persons involved in the planning and the implementation phase. Again, this is something that's really important to the judges, is how did you actually arrive at this? How did this fit with your organization's, your mission and your focus? What was your planned outcomes for this? They want to see all of that. And like Keith mentioned, we also use these in other communities as successful action plans and work plans when we're doing those kinds of presentations. But they want to see that. They want to see everything that went into that planning process, the why, the how. The next one is design. And so you have the creative placemaking project under 1,000 and then over 1,000. And so the description is essentially the same for this. So the placemaking capitalizes on a local community's assets, inspiration, and potential with the intention of creating public spaces that promote people's health, happiness, and well-being. So this award will honor those that have implemented attractive and appropriate improvements for a public area in the historic district. So improvements must be within the Main Street district with a project under 1,000 for that first category or over 1,000 for that second category there. Projects may be public or privately funded, and then provide a brief description of the project, including your scope of work, implementation, total cost of the project, and then briefly explain the key groups, individuals involved in the respective roles. Did you have any design professionals? Was the city involved with this project? Were other organizations like a Rotary, like a chamber involved with this project and helping it to come together? And then describe how this project fits in with the overall Main Street revitalization efforts. Describe any post-project evaluation, including any lessons learned in planned maintenance. Again, placemaking is really about how do we create places that people want to go in the downtown area. So placemaking is a pretty broad subject. And so keep that in mind when you're considering this category for design here.
And I'm going to throw in real quick that we have never had a placemaking project nomination for under $1,000. What has been submitted in previous years are all the bigger placemaking projects. Right. But we have this category because even those simple little things can make a big impact in your downtown. So think about that. If you've added, maybe some simple murals that people can do selfies with, that's a great nomination and a good story to tell. If you've just added, some paint on the sidewalks where kids can do hopscotch or different things, those are the things we want to see also, not just the big placemaking projects over $1,000.
Let's say you just added some benches to an area because the community was, really jiving for some of those from seating in a certain area. That can absolutely be used for this creative placemaking project under $1,000. So get creative in your thinking with that. Doesn't have to be a whole streetscape in order to qualify for that category there. Then you have best facade rehabilitation under 20,000 and over 20,000. And so this is recognition of a building facade project that restored the original elements of the building and stabilized the structure for current use with a project cost under 20,000 or for the next one over 20,000. So describe the project's impact on the building, the business, and the historic district overall. So for instance, let's say it was a very prominent building in your downtown and it was, the gateway coming in into the downtown area here. That's pretty important that we have that building itself revitalized as a something that would be really important for people in the community, visitors coming into the district. And so you can put those kinds of things in the narrative to show the importance of that particular facade rehabilitation. But again, make sure to answer those questions there. What's the impact of it? Why was this project important here? Then you have best historic preservation project. And so this is recognition of a preservation project. And this could either be a physical project or it could be an educational type project that utilized the preservation ethic at the center of Main Street. So physical preservation projects should highlight how the Secretary of Interior standards were used in the project to ensure preservation of the building. Educational preservation projects should highlight how the preservation ethic was shared with the local audience to further the preservation goals of the Main Street organization. So in nomination for both types of projects, explain how your project has impacted the downtown district. And so we broaden this out really. This can be a physical project that was a great preservation project, or it could be an educational type of campaign that really advocated for why historic preservation is important in your downtown area.
And then before you move on to the special requirements for this category, Alyssa asked, can the placemaking project be seasonal? Yes, it could even be a temporary placemaking project. Maybe you're trying something out with sidewalk chalk to activate your sidewalks to test and see if maybe you want to do something more permanent. So yes, seasonal, you bet, and could also be temporary.
Yeah, you're welcome. So nominations in the design category must include before and after photos, especially those are incredibly impactful for those facade renovation categories there, under 20,000, over 20,000 to show the impact. Again, you're going to need to show the impact with these award categories. If the nomination for the best historic preservation project is educational in nature, yeah, you do not need before and after photos with that because it's not applicable to that. Nominations for both creative placemaking project awards should be accompanied by an action or work plan.
So if you guys noticed, all of the awards that maybe the Main Street program is nominating as the organization, a project or initiative that you guys did, needs to come with an action plan. We want to see that. How was the project initiated and implemented? Who was involved in the project? How did it all play out? That sort of thing. The projects that are done by property owners or developers or others, of course, they wouldn't have an action plan. So that's where that came from.
They should have some plan, but they may not have an action plan.
Yeah. So those were all the categories. As we've mentioned before, please read the descriptions, figure out where your project is going to fit the best, or how you want to write the story. And we'll get into that in just a minute, which brings me to this slide, though. We had a webinar last year on storytelling by Phil Ike. It was a very popular webinar that we did. And Ben's going to pop that YouTube address into the chat so you have it, because I know you can't click on the slides to get you to that webinar that was recorded. But, I pulled out this snapshot, principle number 1, there are prerequisites for action. You want to capture attention. So again, thinking about your nomination and the judges reading your nomination, capture their attention. Create a sense of trust. We want to make sure you want the judges to feel like you've got a compelling story, you've got a compelling application, so you want to build that trust. Demonstrate value. I think this is one of the things that the judges say the most. And I'm going to reiterate it again because we kind of have a slide of best practices from the judges, but demonstrate the impact. And it doesn't have to be numbers, but it has to be factual. Main Street programs do a lot of great things, and a lot of Main Street communities have a facade grant program. But if you're going to nominate a facade, how is it different, or how did it make an impact within your community compared to other facades? That sort of thing. And so telling that story, providing some facts, demonstrating impact, demonstrating how this affected the district or how it affected the business is very important. And just you saying that it impacted the district or the business is not good enough. You need to provide that backup or support for your claim. And then number 4 is make a call to action. So, in this case, we as the Main Street program, if you're the applicant, we want to recognize this great project or this person or whatever. And we feel that this is a great nominee or a great finalist for that. Okay, then put the chat in there. Okay, so the judges always provide us with great feedback when they're doing this, and so we wanted to kind of share some of the themes that come out from the judges, which we think would be helpful to you guys in writing an application. And again, you guys are doing great work, and we want you guys to get recognition for that great work. And so this is the first time we've done this webinar on awards. We have a lot of newer Main Street programs. And so we wanted to share some of this with you as you're getting into this process of doing these award categories. And I guess before I get into this, back that up a second. I did want to bring up something. I think Chillicothe did it. Excelsior didn't do it when I was the director, but they do it now. Washington does it. Warrensburg does it. They have their own local awards program, and they recognize locally a lot of the projects and people from their downtown district that are doing great stuff. They have their own local Main Street program awards. And they then take that, whoever they're recognizing at those awards, then becomes their nominee for the state conference. So it helps decrease a little bit of their work, but it's also taking the best of the best that they're recognizing and moving it up to that state level for potential recognition. So I wanted to point that out. If you guys are thinking about doing some sort of annual awards or recognition ceremony or program, this might be the way to do that. You recognize them locally, and then they become your nominee for the state conference. So wanted to throw that out there real quick too. So from the judges, recommendation, read the award category and ensure that you're covering all aspects of that category description. There have been many a nomination who didn't cover those facts when they were writing the nomination. And it was a partial story. It didn't tell the judges what they needed to compare that nominee to all the other nominees that were being looked at. So make sure you're reading the category and you're covering all your bases. Number 2 is demonstrate that impact with tangible facts. We've talked about that already. You want to be able to while a lot of our Main Street projects are feel-good projects, we do want to be able to measure some impact. So, whether it's attendance or if it's, one of the categories is a housing project, it was 100% occupied, within 2 months of opening, or whatever those tangible facts are that help you demonstrate that this is a great project, you want to include that. You could even have some testimonials within your application. If it fits within your 3 pages of narrative, the economic developer for the city, said that, this project has impacted the community through this, and this. So demonstrate that impact, demonstrate the importance of that project or folks. Number 3, if it's a person, demonstrate why they are your organization's nominee. Why are they exceptional? With facts. Again, they attend every event. There was a nomination last year. This family, it was a family for Volunteer of the Year, has volunteered over 300 hours, to our Main Street program. Things like that. All of our volunteers are great and wonderful, but we need to quantify that for the judges. Why are they great and wonderful? So telling the story, putting some testimonials I think would be helpful also, and then backing it up with some facts as to why they are exceptional. Tell a story. I was just saying this. Provide the facts to back it up. Paint the picture for the judges. They do not know these people. They do not know these projects. Paint the picture for them. You know, this building had been vacant for 20 years. Half of the windows were broken out. We as Main Street and the EV committee worked on a recruitment plan for a developer. You know, tell all of the story. They don't know it. You want to make them very familiar with it so they can evaluate it to others. And I will tell you, a lot of award winners come down to that piece, telling the story. They told a good story.
Okay.
So if you're not a good writer, have someone help you. Maybe you gather the facts, but then you have somebody who's a really good writer put it together. It shouldn't just be one person putting all these applications together. A lot of our Main Street programs will share the application with all of their committees. As you noticed, the awards are divided into committees. So push it out to your committees. You know, do you guys have any potential projects or folks that we should consider for nomination, and have the committees bring their recommendations to the board? But have multiple people work on the application. And again, that story is so important. And then, you know, we've kind of talked about this already, but why is this nominee worthy? Many applications are good, but many applications we get are routine Main Street activities. So why is your nominee special? You know, I kind of go back to the facade grant. We have, or the facade awards. We have a lot of Main Street programs that do facade grant programs. But why was this facade under 20,000 or over 20,000 impactful or pivotal or transformational for your district that it rises up to be recognized on a state level? So why was it special? All right, any questions? That's just kind of the nuts and bolts and best practices from our judges. But now just kind of want to open it up to you guys for questions. You can either type them in or raise your hand and we can call on you. Or, I mean, it's a small enough group too. You could probably just unmute yourself and ask your questions. But what questions do you have?
I will say, as you guys are thinking of your questions too, we did consolidate a couple of the categories this year too from last year. So if you're familiar with last year's award nomination form, we did consolidate so you could try to pick your category a little bit better and tell the story a little bit better within that category itself.
Yeah, and I'm going to pick on you just because I'm in Carthage.
Making enough of you.
Jen, do you have any questions? Are you thinking about projects already? Oh, you're on mute, Jen. I did notice she's using a phone too. She's the call-in person, so that might be the issue. Might be the
yeah. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes.
Okay, I guess I'm duplicated. Anyway, so I don't have any questions, but I definitely was taking a lot of different notes. I think for me, I had seen the form and there was a lot of information on there. And so this just kind of helped break that down and just bring to light some of the smaller things. Because I think when you think awards, you think large and big, and it's got to be kind of grandiose and maybe a lot of money. And so for you to kind of call out the creative placemaking under $1,000, well, I'm thinking, wow, we beautify this square with hanging baskets and flowers and all of which just brings vibrancy. And I would have not have thought, oh, that's award nominating, but it definitely could be, because it definitely is creating a place and an atmosphere. And then in the Christmas time, we take out obviously the flowers and we put in Christmas arrangements and they have lights, and it just adds to the ambiance of the downtown. So I think for me, it just brought broader perspective than what I was imagining or thinking from an award perspective.
So Jen, I would challenge you. It's kind of that comment I made just a little bit ago. You know, a lot of downtowns do the flowers and the enhancements and stuff. So you'd have to figure out a way to how is that impacted, you know, and,
right.
and how do we tell that story, and why is it important that we're doing it, and how does it rise to that level? Yeah.
And just kind of the background. So like our flowers are grown by the local high school. I mean, there's just a lot of connectivity, right?
You bet. Yep, that's perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
There it is.
Trevor, go ahead. Are you finished, Jen? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Trevor had a question. Trevor, would you mind unmuting and explaining, because you guys fall within that affiliate tier?
That's what I was double checking, if we were affiliate until we graduated or not.
Yeah, the community empowerment grant folks fall within that affiliate tier, as do our St. Louis Main Streets, and we do have Tony on here with St. Louis Main Street. So you do fall in that affiliate tier. You do, of course, have that one category that is just open to CEGs. Yep.
And I guess follow up, or not really follow up, but the housing one, did they have to fall within the 2001, 22 or 2022, 21, 22, and 23 time period as well?
No, the housing would be January 1st of 2022 to December
Just this
31st
year.
of 2022. It had to be finished within that time period.
Yeah,
Thank
that
you.
time frame is just for community empowerment grant award there, but the rest.
Yeah,
of them
just for the award, not for you guys as being in that tier of a sub tier of the affiliate. It's
Correct.
just that award has that 3-year window. It's just, and for all the other awards, you're asking about the housing project when it needed to be finished. It's just like your quarterly reports. They have to be completed within the time period that you're submitting. So with these awards, the time period is January 1st of 2022 through December 31st of 2022. So that the project has to be finished within that. All right. Well, we did record this, so we'll get it processed and up on our YouTube page in the next few days. We'll probably send out an email to the entire network if they want to see it. But if you need to go back and refer to it, or have other people that are going to help you with the nominations, go look at it. That would be advisable. No more questions. Just we'll say thank you and have a good rest of your day.
Bye, guys.